What if, one morning, you woke up and the internet was just gone? No Google, no Instagram, no banking, no GPS. Forever. Could we survive, or would everything collapse? In the year 2025, nearly every part of our daily lives runs through one invisible yet powerful force: the internet. From the moment we wake up and check our phones to the moment we fall asleep watching Netflix or scrolling social media, we're tethered to a digital lifeline that never sleeps. With over 5.3 billion people, that's nearly 2/3 of the global population, actively using the internet, it has become more than just a tool. It's the foundation of how we communicate, work, trade, learn, date, bank, drive, and even dream. But we hardly ever stop to think about what the internet actually is. It's not some magical cloud floating above us. It's a complex physical web of undersea cables, data centers, satellite systems, and wireless towers spread across continents. It's managed by private companies, government agencies, and non-profit organizations that all have to cooperate for it to work. And because of this massive decentralized system, the idea of it shutting down completely feels impossible. After all, it wasn't built to have an off switch. But let's entertain a chilling thought. What if it did shut down? Not for a few hours like during a server outage or regional blackout, not because your Wi-Fi went out or a website crashed, but what if suddenly the entire global internet, all of it, went dark, permanently? Although experts argue that a total permanent internet shutdown is virtually impossible, let's go beyond the limits of what's likely. Let's step into the unknown and ask, what if it actually happened? What would the world look like without the internet forever? If the internet really did shut down forever, the result would not be a slow fade, it would be immediate, global, and catastrophic. Imagine a switch flipping off, and suddenly the heartbeat of the modern world just stops. The numbers alone are horrifying. According to Merchant Machine's 2025 report, even a 1-hour global internet outage would cost the world $1.7 billion. Multiply that by 10, and you're looking at $17 billion lost in just half a day. And if the internet stayed down for a full 24 hours, the estimated damage to the global economy rockets to $42 billion. That's one day. Now imagine forever. The biggest corporate victims would be tech giants like Amazon, Alphabet, and JD.com would bleed money by the second. Amazon alone stands to lose over $40+ million every hour. That's $893 million per day just from halted orders, logistics, and site traffic. Google would lose its grip on search, Gmail, cloud services, YouTube, and ad revenue, all gone. Global e-commerce, cloud computing, advertising, and digital entertainment could wiped out in a blink. But it's not just corporations that would collapse, it's life as we know it. Payment systems would fail, online banking, gone, POS machines in shops, dead. Healthcare networks that rely on digital records and real-time data, crippled. Work from home models, cloud-based systems, school portals, silent. Emergency services, transportation systems, and air traffic control will be dangerously disrupted. Even governments would face gridlock, unable to operate efficiently without digital communication. The entire global infrastructure leans heavily on digital networks. The backbone of banking, trade, education, and even diplomacy is now held up by the internet. In some nations, online platforms are the only way citizens interact with their governments. Without the internet, this digital scaffolding would crumble, leaving behind a confused, chaotic vacuum. Social life too would unravel. No more social media, no group chats, no dating apps, no memes, no streaming, no emails. The world, which has gotten so used to being connected 24/7, would fall into a kind of cultural silence. Teens who grew up on TikTok and Instagram would find themselves thrust into a world they've never known. Influencers would vanish overnight, content creators would go jobless, artists and musicians who rely on digital platforms to share their work would have to return to analog mediums. And then there's the personal panic. No Google Maps to tell you where to go, no Uber, no food delivery apps, no news alerts, no weather forecasts, no search engine to answer your questions. The digital assistant that managed your day, gone. People would suddenly have to relearn how to be in the world. But studies suggest that losing the internet, even temporarily, could actually make us healthier. A 2025 study from the University of Texas at Austin, led by Professor Adrian Ward, revealed that when mobile internet was blocked for just 2 weeks, the results were almost surreal. Participants reported better mental health, improved sleep, and stronger attention spans. In fact, some showed cognitive improvement that mirrored a reversal of 10 years of age-related decline. The experiment was simple. One group had their mobile internet blocked for 2 weeks, unable to use browsers or social media. Only calls and text messages were allowed. Instead of turning to TV screens or other devices, most participants spent time doing hobbies, talking to friends and family in person, going out in nature, reading, and even sleeping more. A staggering 91% of participants reported noticeable benefits. Over 70% said their mental health had significantly improved. They felt more focused, more present, and more connected to the real world. The kind of connection we'd forgotten was possible. So while a global internet shutdown would be a nightmare economically, socially, and logistically, it may also represent a strange kind of liberation. The irony? The very tool we created to connect us may also be disconnecting us from ourselves. Without constant doom scrolling, without the dopamine drip of likes and notifications, without the infinite rabbit holes of YouTube and Reddit, we might remember what it feels like to be human again, to have uninterrupted thoughts, to look up, and humanity, despite the chaos, would adapt. That's what we do. Electricians and engineers would focus on rebuilding local networks, restoring power grids, and reviving analog systems. People would return to old tech, landline phones, fax machines, and paper maps. The revival of print media, libraries, and community centers would bring new life to forgotten places. Google and Microsoft wouldn't disappear, they'd reinvent themselves. With massive resources and the brightest minds, these tech giants would likely build new, more resilient communication systems. We're talking about decentralized, offline-first technologies, mesh networks, satellite-based communication systems that don't rely on vulnerable undersea cables or single points of failure. Think about how the COVID-19 pandemic forced the world to adapt at an unprecedented speed. Remote work exploded. Virtual classrooms became normal. Now imagine that same global momentum being directed at rebuilding the internet, or something even better. The global shutdown would push forward a kind of digital rebirth, one that is more equitable, more secure, and less addictive, one that maybe even respects our time and attention. It wouldn't happen overnight. The first few years would be rough. Businesses would fold, people would struggle. Depression might rise in some, especially those whose identities or livelihoods depended entirely on the digital world. But slowly life would restructure itself around new rhythms. Local economies would grow, communities would strengthen, children would play outside again, parents might actually sit at the dinner table without phones in hand. Human interaction would stop being filtered through a screen. Creativity might flourish in unexpected ways, unburdened by algorithms. Without the internet, society would become more localized. Travel and communication would become deliberate acts again. That might sound limiting, but it could also mean more intentional living, less noise, more clarity. Even employers might see the value in this shift. Companies could begin promoting digital detox practices, not just for productivity, but for well-being. Ward, the professor behind the 2025 study, suggested that companies give employees the choice to opt in. Imagine a world where workers voted to take regular internet breaks and employers supported them. It's radical, but not unthinkable. And let's not forget nature. With digital infrastructure demanding less energy, emissions could drop. A silent, disconnected world might also be a greener one. Ultimately, what a permanent internet shutdown shows us is that for all its conveniences, the internet is not infallible. It is a web, and webs can be torn. Whether through solar storms, cyber warfare, infrastructure collapse, or authoritarian shutdowns, the threat is real. And that brings us to the most important truth. We are not prepared. But we can't really say that either, because we've been here before. Not at this scale, no. But humanity has faced the abyss in many forms. So, no, the internet can't be shut down completely. Not all at once, not forever. But it can break, piece by piece. And it could break faster than we expected. That's the unsettling part. What can help us if it happens? Nothing ready-made. Not yet. We do not have global offline protocols. We do not teach analog survival skills in school. We don't keep printed maps or memorize phone numbers. We don't even know our neighbors' names. We live in a glass house made of data. One well-aimed stone, natural or man-made, could bring it all crashing down. So, maybe, just maybe, the takeaway here isn't to fear the internet apocalypse. It's to prepare for it. Back up your data. Learn how to navigate without Google Maps. Print out your contact list. Start a side hustle that doesn't need Wi-Fi. Talk to the people next door. Build trust. Build community. I am sure even hearing this could give you a nightmare feel, but there is nothing wrong with doing these. Because if that day ever does come, and the internet really does go dark permanently, it won't just be about what we lose. It'll be about what we choose to rebuild in its place. Maybe we'll rediscover real human interaction. Maybe our brains will finally breathe again. Maybe we'll sleep better, focus longer, dream bigger. Maybe we'll stop looking down at glowing screens and start looking up at the sky. In that silence, without pings, without alerts, without likes or swipes or views, we might finally hear something we forgot even existed: real life. So, here's your challenge. Unplug for one day, just one, and see what happens. Maybe nothing changes, or maybe everything does. If this video made you think or made you feel something, drop a comment below. Would you survive an internet apocalypse? Would you want to? Hit like, share with your doomsday prepper friend, and subscribe if you want more mind-bending what-if scenarios, because we've got more coming, and who knows? One day, we might have to act them out for real. See you in the next one, unless we all go offline.